This is the challenge of the Quran. You take all the Bibles in the world, all the Old Testaments, all the New Testaments, all the Torahs, all the the ancient Hindu texts, etc., etc. You get rid of them. You hide them. You put them away in a vault. Also the Quran. You put it away. Nobody has access to these books. I tell you, in the city of Chicago, or in the city of New York, or in a small town in Georgia somewhere, even in the United States, we're not even talking going abroad. So long as you have one or two people that have memorized the whole Quran, you'll recover the whole book in a day. The whole book, we can recover it. How easy is that to do for other books? It's incredible that the book is preserved. Even if you get rid of the physical books, it's still around.
We have statements of scientific fact concerning the mountains, concerning the creation of the universe. How the Quran describes that the mountains have roots, which has only been discovered recently, that continental mountains have roots, and they help to stabilize the earth's surface. This is mentioned in the Quran.
As far as it is known from the history of embryology, little was known about the staging and classification of human embryos until the 20th century. For this reason, the descriptions of the human embryo in the Quran cannot be based on scientific knowledge in the 7th century. The only reasonable conclusion is that these descriptions were revealed to Muhammad from God. He could not have known such details because he was an illiterate man with absolutely no scientific training. Muhammad could not have known these facts about human development in the 7th century because most of them were not discovered until the 20th century. Muslims and others are justified in concluding that these facts could only have been revealed to Muhammad by the one who knows all about us, not only about how we developed, but how we live and function.
And in Surah 13, Ayah 3, in the context of creation, we see, "And it is He who expanded the earth and set thereon mountains standing firm and rivers." The concept of change in the geographic dimensions of the continents is a very modern concept. Perhaps the most intriguing thoughts are from a hadith in Sahih Muslim, where Muhammad states as one of the signs of the coming of the Day of Judgment that Arab areas will return to being fertile and green and with rivers. The archaeological and geological evidence that they once were green and will become green again is less than a century old.
As far as the Quran is concerned, one of its most profound miracles is actually the word Quran. Quran comes from, in Arabic, comes from the word qara'a, which means to recite. But the way it's formed with that an at the end, what it really means is that which is recited excessively. Just one phrase in the Quran, Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim, is recited countless times a day by millions and millions and millions of Muslims every single day for the last millennium and a half. The Quran says about Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, "We have elevated your mention." If you know about the call to prayer in Islam, the adhan includes the words, "Ashhadu anna Muhammadan Rasulullah." I bear witness that Muhammad is the messenger of Allah. And whenever we hear that, we send a praise upon the messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam. May peace and blessings of Allah be upon him. If you look at the world today, Muslims are all over the world, and you know how there are different time zones? There's not a minute that goes by that there's not an adhan going on somewhere. And in that call, whose mention is being elevated? And there are other mathematical nuances. For example, you have Surah Baqarah. It's made up of 286 ayat. In Surah Baqarah, there's a verse that says, وَكَذَلِكَ جَعَلْنَاكُمْ أُمَّةً وَسَطًا. This is how we made you a middle nation. Now keep in mind, the Quran is recited. It's not documented, this is number 1, this is number 2, this is number 3. That came later on.
Yeah.
That statement that we have made you a middle nation occurs in ayah number 143 of a surah that is a total of 286.
We have statements of scientific fact concerning the mountains, concerning the creation of the universe, where Allah, He tells us, "Have not the unbelievers seen that the heavens and the earth were united, joined together as one piece of creation? Then we rent them asunder, and we made from water every living thing." The Quran describes the common origin of the universe, how it was rent asunder. From this dukhan, from the smoke, Allah created the planets, the Quran tells us.
And as if that is not enough, look at the Frontier project of NASA right now. They're looking for a sign of life on Mars, spending about $600 billion on it, going $1 trillion. What are they looking for as a sign of life? Are they looking for emails, furniture? They're looking for water, because you find water, you're going to find life. How would Prophet Muhammad ﷺ know that? Just recently, scientists discovered that Big Bang is still happening. That explosion, the edges of the universe are still echoing and expanding at the edges of the universe. In Surah Al-Dhariyat, chapter 51, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, and the skies, the heavens, we have created with our own powers, and we are expanding them. In the beginning of the chapter, the Romans, chapter 30, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala revealed to Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, and he said it to the Muslims, that there was continuous win and lose battles between the Romans and the Persians, being the two major powers. He said that the Romans will be defeated in the lowest point of earth, and then within 10 years they would be victorious again. Not only that, the same thing happened, that the Persians defeated the Romans first, and then the Romans had a major defeat over them. But then with the advent of satellites, that place with that battle, satellites told us that it's actually the lowest topographical point on the face of the earth. It's exactly 393 meters below the sea surface, and the location is there by Route 90 in Palestine today. How would Prophet Muhammad ﷺ have knowledge that can only be gained by satellites?
This book is a good picture of where you stand with your Lord, what you need to be doing on a daily basis, which is why one of the greatest definitions of the Quran in the Quran, besides it being guidance, is that it's a reminder. People forget their purpose in life. People forget what they're here on the earth to do. They get dissuaded, or they get distracted by entertainment and by movies and by YouTube or this or that or the other. They get distracted into many different things. And here you have a reminder constantly bringing you back to your essential purpose.